Andy, you did very well on geography and our American history section. Let's talk about our American government now. What is the supreme law of our land and what does it do?
It is the Constitution. It sets up the government and protects basic rights of Americans. This is what makes the U.S. a great country. Basic rights of citizens are protected, and the rule of law means nobody, not even the president, is above the law.
The first 3 words of the Constitution conveys the idea of self-government. Do you know what they are?
We the people.
An amendment is a change or an addition to the Constitution. I believe we've had 27 amendments so far. Can you name one right or freedom from the First Amendment?
This is one of the best amendments we can have. You said one right, but I'll just name them all because they're all great. The First Amendment protects the freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of assembly, freedom of press, and freedom to petition the government. Also, yes, there are 27 amendments, but 33 of them were submitted for ratification. The first 10 amendments were ratified at the same time, and they are called the Bill of Rights.
That's right. I remember now. Each amendment has to be ratified by 3/4 of the states within a certain time limit to become part of the Constitution, and 6 of them didn't make it. This is why we have a great system. The president can't just make new laws left and right to satisfy his own needs. We, the people, have to approve it first. I also completely agree with you on this First Amendment being one of the best ones. I have a friend who lives in Southeast Asia. He told me that people can be arrested for speaking badly about the government, even though it's the truth. Also, if you bribe the right people, you can get away with a lot of stuff. No, thank you. I want to live here where nobody is above the law and we have a constitution to protect my rights.
Wow! Sometimes I forget how passionate you are about things you value.
That's right. Keep that in mind next time you want to diss my team. Anyway, where were we?
You were ranting about rights?
Right. So, what is freedom of religion?
We can practice any religion, or even not practice a religion.
What are 2 rights in the Declaration of Independence?
Life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness.
What did the Declaration of Independence do?
It declared our independence from Great Britain.
What is the economic system in the U.S.?
It's the capitalist or market economy.
Okay, now let's see how well you know our government system. Name one branch or part of the government.
I know they only ask for one branch, but I'll elaborate on this answer. In fact, my answer will probably cover several questions on this test. The U.S. government has 3 branches. The legislative branch makes federal laws. This branch is run by the Congress, which has 2 parts. The Senate has 100 senators, 2 senators per state, and the House of Representatives has 435 members. The more people your state has, the more representatives it can have. The executive branch carries out laws. The president is in charge of this branch. Under him is his cabinet, which includes the vice president, the attorney general, and all the secretaries like Secretary of Defense, Secretary of Education, and etc. The judicial branch evaluates laws. It's run by the highest court in the U.S., the Supreme Court, and other federal courts.
Yep. Your answer covers about 10 questions. What if someone only studies what you just said and the interviewer asks these same 10 questions? What would be the chances of that?
Well,
that was a rhetorical question. Don't tell me that you know how to calculate that too.
I did teach math for a few years before you knew me.
You just keep surprising me, my friend. Just don't explain the solution to me because I'd like to be headache-free today. Okay, who does a U.S. Senator represent?
Senators are voted by the people in their states, so a senator would represent all the people in their state.
We elect a U.S. Senator for how many years?
Once elected, a U.S. Senator would stay in office for 6 years. A U.S. Representative would stay for 2 years, and a President would stay for 4 years before the next election.
In what month do we vote for President?
The presidential election happens in November.
Who signs bills to become laws or vetoes bills?
Our president, also known as the commander-in-chief of the military, can do both of those tasks.
If the president can no longer serve and it's not yet time for election, who becomes president?
The vice president would take over. The best-known example of this happened in 1963. John F. Kennedy, the 35th President of the United States, was assassinated after less than 3 years in his office. He was succeeded by Vice President Lyndon B. Johnson.
What if both the president and the vice president can no longer serve? Then who becomes president?
This has not happened in American history, but if this ever happens, then the Speaker of the House would become president.
What are 2 rights of everyone living in the United States?
We talked about this earlier. Any 2 rights from the First Amendment would do: freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of assembly, freedom of press, and freedom to petition the government. But there's also a big right from the Second Amendment, the right to keep and bear arms.
Those are all important rights. Once you become a U.S. citizen, you earn a few more. Name one right only for United States citizens.
A U.S. citizen can vote in a federal election and run for federal office.
What is one responsibility that is only for United States citizens?
This is a perfect example of how something can be both a right and a responsibility. A U.S. citizen should always serve on a jury when asked and should vote in all federal elections.
Speaking of voting, there are 4 amendments to the Constitution about who can vote. Can you describe one of them?
I'll describe them all because they're all interesting to me. In 1870, The 15th Amendment granted the right to vote to male citizens of any race. Before that, only white male citizens could vote. Then, thanks to the tireless efforts of Susan Anthony, in 1920, the 19th Amendment granted women the right to vote. In 1960, the 24th Amendment allowed U.S. citizens to vote without having to pay a poll tax. Lastly, in 1971, the 26th Amendment lowered the minimum voting age from 21 to 18.
You have an amazing memory, Andy.
No, I have always just been interested in history, so I remember these things. A person with less interest but still wants to pass this test can just pick one of these 4 amendments to remember.
Okay, here's an easy one. What do we show loyalty to when we say the Pledge of Allegiance?
That would be loyalty to the United States or the flag.
What is one promise you make when you become a United States citizen?
It would be one of these promises. Give up loyalty to other countries, be loyal to and serve the U.S., defend the Constitution and laws of the U.S., obey the laws of the U.S., and serve in the U.S. military, if needed.
Under our Constitution, some powers belong to the federal government. What is one power of the federal government?
The federal government can print money, declare war, create an army, make treaties, etc.
Under our Constitution, some powers belong to the states. Which is one power of the states?
The states can issue driver's license, provide schooling and education, provide police protection, provide fire safety, approve zoning and land use, etc.
What are the 2 major political parties in the United States?
Democratic and Republican.
We're getting near to the end here, Andy. What are 2 ways that Americans can participate in their democracy?
There are several ways. Just pick the 2 that makes the most sense to you from this list. Vote, join a political party, help with a campaign, join a civic group, join a community group, give an elected official your opinion on an issue, call senators and representatives, publicly support or oppose an issue or policy, run for office, write to a newspaper. Basically, be involved. Don't be a silent bystander. Problems will never go away if everyone just kept quiet and do nothing.
When is the last day you can send in federal income tax forms?
April 15th.
When must all men register for the Selective Service?
When they're between 18 and 26 years old.
I'm saving the best for last. What stops one branch of government from becoming too powerful?
This is my favorite part too. The short answer is checks and balances. To elaborate on this answer, let's look at this picture. The legislative branch, identified here with a picture of the U.S. Capitol building, can override presidential veto or even impeach and remove the president. The judicial branch, identified here with a picture of the Supreme Court building, can declare executive actions unconstitutional. So these two branches with these two arrows can control the president's actions to make sure that the executive branch doesn't have too much power. Looking at the 6 arrows, we see that each branch can control what the other 2 branches do. This checks and balances system ensures that no one branch of government will ever become too powerful, and all important decisions will be made and checked by a lot of people.
When you go to your interview, the interviewer will randomly choose 10 questions from a list of 100 questions. You will need to get at least 6 correct answers to pass that part of the interview. They will also test you on your English skills. You will need to correctly read aloud 1 out of 3 sentences. The sentences will use words in this list here. You will also need to correctly write out 1 of 3 sentences. The sentences will use words in this list here. In the lesson, some questions ask for 1 or 2 things, but Andy gave a lot more because he's a history buff. For your answers, you only need to give the right number of items that the interviewer asks for. There are 3 questions that have different answers depending on where you live. Name your U.S. representative. Who is the governor of your state now? And what is the capital of your state? Please research and learn the answers to these questions before your interview. There are 6 questions that may have different answers depending on when you will take your test. Please visit this website for the most current answers. If you are learning English as a second language, restart or pause the video as often as you need to practice your pronunciation. That's it for today. We usually have a lesson each Saturday, but it's summer now, so we're taking some time off to spend time with our family. Whenever you have time, please continue to rewatch our lessons to review your vocabularies and practice your pronunciation. We'll post more videos after the summer. If you have any questions or ideas for future lessons, please comment down below.